Good evening, everyone. Welcome to NTD Tonight. I'm David Zhang. Here's a preview of some of today's top stories. A Chinese-owned factory in Ohio was raided. See what lawmakers are saying about the factory's parent company. A smash and grab using a stolen government car. A group of thieves ransacked a Southern California store. Bernice King mourns the loss of her brother, Dexter Scott King. She remembers him as a man dedicated to the civil rights legacy of their parents, Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King. First up, there are ongoing concerns by lawmakers that Chinese companies operating in the U.S. are evading tariffs. A Chinese-owned auto parts maker in Ohio was recently searched by the Department of Homeland Security. The maker's parent company was recently accused of trade fraud. NTD's Jason Blair reports.
WHIO and other local news networks reported that the DHS searched Harco Manufacturing Group in Moraine, Ohio last week. The company makes vehicle brake parts. Harco is owned by Sunsong Holdings, who is a subsidiary of Qingdao Sunsong. Qingdao Sunsong was recently accused of evading U.S. tariffs by moving part of their production to Thailand. Representatives Mike Gallagher and Darren LaHood wrote a letter to the DHS about this, saying it's a, quote, case of blatant trade fraud that is having a catastrophic impact on American manufacturers. The Department of Homeland Security has not confirmed yet whether the raid is connected to the trade fraud accusations. A DHS representative told Axios, quote, Homeland Security Investigations executed a federal search warrant in the Moraine, Ohio area January 18th. This is an ongoing investigation. No further information is available at this time. Jason Blair, NTD News.
Now let's take a look at other top headlines. Today is the New Hampshire primary election, a two-person race between former President Trump and former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. At the final rally last night, former President Trump told NTD he's confident that he will win by big margins again, repeating his Iowa victory.
Do you think it'll win by the same margin here?
I think we're going to win by big margins, yeah.
Forget about it.
We just had a lot of polls come in the last hour, and you see what they are. They're very good.
Would you call Nikki Haley to drop out? Who it is?
That's up to her.
Several former rivals have endorsed Trump. Despite a double-digit lead over Nikki Haley, according to 3 new polls released on Monday, Trump encouraged all his supporters to go out and vote.
Because we have to win by big margins. The reason is in November, we have to send the signal that we're not playing games. This country has gone to hell.
We just finished our live coverage of the New Hampshire primary. For updates on the results or the replay of The Nation Decides 2024, please visit us on the web at ntd.com. With the expected win in New Hampshire, there have been discussions about who Trump might pick as his VP campaign partner. Many believe Trump will pick a woman as his 2024 running mate, and some speculate Senate candidate Kari Lake of Arizona. However, Lake now says she's focused on winning the Senate seat. She recently explained that it's essential that Republicans have a majority in the Senate when Trump is in office. According to her, that's so Trump can pass his programs through Congress. Meanwhile, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik was in Manchester, New Hampshire on Saturday to support former President Trump in his presidential bid. She said she would be honored to be Trump's running mate.
Of course I'd be honored. I've said that for a year, to serve in a future Trump administration in any capacity. Right now we have so much work to do, which is why I'm getting on the phone calling voters in New Hampshire and thanking these supporters.
In addition, Senators Tim Scott and J.D. Vance are also believed to be on the short list of contenders to become Trump's pick for vice president. 24 Israeli soldiers were killed in 2 separate incidents in Gaza on Monday, making it the deadliest day so far for Israeli troops in the war with Hamas. The latest death toll brings the total number of Israeli soldiers killed in Gaza to 219. Fighting has continued almost non-stop in Gaza since the October 7th Hamas terror attack on Israel. 1,200 people were killed in Israel and more than 250 were taken hostage. 130 of the hostages are believed to be still in captivity. The Hamas-controlled health ministry in Gaza says Israel's attacks there have killed more than 25,000 Palestinians since October 7th. Another 63,000 have reportedly been injured. The war in Gaza entered its 108th day today. Netanyahu vowed last week Israel will not stop fighting until, quote, total victory. One of the largest workforce reductions at LA Times. The 142-year-old newspaper announced Tuesday that it would lay off at least 115 people, or more than 20% of the newsroom. The move comes amid projections for another year of heavy losses for the newspaper. The cuts were necessary because the paper could no longer lose $30 million to $40 million a year, according to the owner, Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong. In recent years, the newspaper has been struggling with building a higher readership that will bring in advertising and subscriptions to sustain the organization. Tuesday's layoffs follow the elimination last summer of more than 70 newsroom positions at the LA Times. According to CNN, news outlets across the country cut nearly 2,700 jobs in 2023 alone. The Washington Post announced plans last October to cut 240 jobs. A group of thieves used a stolen government-owned vehicle to break into a Southern California clothing store. The brazen smash and grab was all caught on video. NTD's Christina Corona has more on the story.
The burglary occurred around 4:45 a.m. Sunday morning at Hype Kingdom in Bellflower, a Black-owned business that sells clothes, shoes, and accessories located on the 17,000 block of Lakewood Boulevard. Surveillance footage shows the suspects ramming a car multiple times into the store, breaking a security gate and wall before ransacking and stealing hundreds of items. More than a dozen suspects can be seen wearing hooded sweatshirts and masks, leaving with armfuls of items. Police confirm the suspects used a stolen government vehicle to ram into the storefront. The owner of the store estimated that more than 500 items were stolen, but the exact amount of merchandise is currently unknown. Authorities say several suspects are still at large. Christina Corona, NTD News, California.
Mystery surrounds a massive illegal fireworks display in downtown Los Angeles. Who did it and why? NTD's Stephanie Sikal reports.
On Sunday around 10:45 p.m., LAPD officers responded to a call near 1st and Los Angeles streets where fireworks display appeared to originate from a warehouse. Videos shared online suggested the fireworks caused the 3 small fires, but this is yet to be confirmed by the LA Fire Department. Residents like Mike Olfelt told NTD he was confused over the unexpected fireworks. He said, quote, "I think that it was crazy, a whole lot of booming and banging. I also had family members that heard it from miles away from where this occurred. This is not the first time it happened. A few months back, it happened at the 6th Street Bridge." With the public assistance, central officers identified the location of the planned midnight fireworks show initiated near a federal facility. Authorities with the Los Angeles Police Department said that an estimated 100 rounds of illegal fireworks were set off not far from Little Tokyo, but so far no one is sure who is responsible for the massive display. LAPD is now investigating the incident. Stephanie Sikal, NTD News.
Just 1 day after the passing of Dexter Scott King, the King family gathered at the King Center in Atlanta, where his sister, Bernice King, spoke affectionately about her brother. NTD's Christina Corona has more.
Dexter Scott King, the younger son of Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King, passed away at his home in California Monday. He was 62 years old.
This is perhaps the hardest thing for me to do. I love you, Dexter. After a 3.5-year battle with prostate cancer, he tried with everything in him to defeat it. Fought to the very last minute.
Bernice King shared some memories of Dexter King.
A lot of people don't know Dexter actually worked for the Department of Corrections with the Atlanta Police Department.
She goes on to say how working in law enforcement was difficult for her brother. He was just 7 years old when their father was assassinated in April 1968 while supporting striking sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee.
That was a rough patch because, as you know, coming from the nonviolent family, he had to carry a gun. And y'all were saying, what does that have to do with nonviolence? Well, our family was like nonviolence on steroids. And so we grew up primarily without guns in our home.
In his adulthood, Dexter King dedicated himself to preserving his father's legacy and safeguarding the intellectual property of the King family.
He had a vision to build something that would bring my father to life through technology. Fast forward today, we understand that. People didn't understand it then. And so he came under vicious attack through the media, self-proclaimed scholars and others who didn't understand because they were focused on, in their mind, they felt his intent was for profit. But Dexter had a prophetic intent.
The King Center said a memorial service will be held later for Dexter Scott King. Christina Corona, NTD News.
We'll take a short break now, everybody, but here's a look at what we have for you when we come back. Heavy rain and flooding brought more weather-related warnings to multiple states. More on the damages and safety advisories. From prisoner to Michelin restaurant owner, we'll bring you one man's redemption story. A remarkable display of talent on the basketball court. We'll take a look at the performance that landed Joel Embiid in the NBA record books. Those stories and more coming up on NTD Tonight. Welcome back to NTD Tonight. I'm your host, David Zhang. Heavy rain from weekend storms on the west coast and southern U.S. flooded the streets and freeways and toppled trees. Officials issued flood warnings in many areas. Here's more.
Flash floods inundated homes and overturned cars in San Diego on Monday. The rainstorm swept through a large portion of the U.S., toppling trees and overflowing streets across California. Floodwater swept away vehicles and caused cars to pile up on top of each other in parts of San Diego. The National Weather Service warned residents not to travel unless absolutely necessary, and when encountering flooded roadways, turn around, don't drown. San Diego Mayor Todd Gloria declared a state of emergency on Monday due to extreme rainfall and flash flooding. Footage from the Citizen app showed Interstate 5 in San Diego flooded, causing drivers to escape their cars on the freeway. The San Diego Union Tribune said about 45 stranded individuals were rescued from swollen rivers or flooded locations in the Tijuana River Valley and Mission Valley. 8 illegal immigrants were rescued after authorities found them trapped under a bridge in San Ysidro. Several feet of water inundated Southern California neighborhoods and highways in San Diego's Mountain View neighborhood. Mammoth Mountain Ski Resort received over 2 feet of snow. In the southern U.S., the National Weather Service issued an alert for moderate risks of excessive rainfall for parts of the Deep South and Gulf Coast through Wednesday. There is also a warning for numerous flash floods. In the central U.S. and along the East Coast, unusually cold weather has caused dozens of deaths in multiple states this month, many involving hypothermia or road accidents.
The winter weather brought heavy rain and record low temperatures across the U.S. Authorities had to rescue stranded people in risky situations.
U.S. Coast Guard officers rescued fishermen trapped on an ice floe near Catawba Island on Lake Erie, Ohio on Monday. Footage shows Coast Guard officers approaching the men on the frozen lake and roping out of the helicopter. The freezing temperatures have claimed dozens of human lives, especially in states unused to extreme cold. A homeless man accidentally set himself on fire and died under a bridge while trying to stay warm on January 20th in Atlanta. Local reports say wind chills sent temperatures plunging to 5 degrees Fahrenheit. In Tennessee, the health department said the state recorded 27 deaths related to the Arctic blast since last week. Public schools in Nashville canceled classes for a 6th day in a row on Monday, with school officials saying they would decide by late afternoon if classes can resume on Tuesday.
Life after incarceration can be an uphill battle, but some persevere and transform their lives to achieve success. NTD's BJ Kong has the story of how one man went from prisoner to Michelin restaurant owner.
A successful businessman ends up serving 4 years in a federal prison and then manages to find success again after opening an award-winning restaurant. Arthur Chen shares with us how his time spent behind bars helped him transform his life. First arriving in 1985, Chen came to the States for the same reason he believes many immigrants do, establishing many thriving businesses in Texas. However, the earnings from his success became the fuel for a growing gambling addiction, marking the beginning of his downfall.
You get addicted to it, and then you gamble like a big, and then so kind of out of my control. I do the fake cashier check, and then deposit to the casino.
Chen was sentenced to 46 months behind bars. He lost his businesses, and he faced deportation. Despite losing everything, Chen saw his time in prison as an opportunity to learn. While reading and studying a variety of books, he had a fateful encounter with an ancient Chinese philosophical text titled I Ching, where he derived his own interpretation of the meaning of life.
But how come you got the wisdom? You got a soul. Where are you from? What my explanation is, is from the center of the universe. And then once you die, where did it go? I think it's to get back to the center of the universe.
Chen claimed I Ching provided him with the knowledge to look forward, but he claims it was his family which kept his spirits up during his time behind bars.
When I got out from prison, I got nothing but my body, okay? And then you don't even know what you want to do. Once you decide what to do, you have to go for it.
And go for it he did, opening his new restaurant named Eat Joy Food, but not without a new set of challenges. 5 months after the grand opening, the pandemic hit, but Chen persevered. He kept his restaurant open, developed an appetizing menu, and for his efforts was rewarded by making Michelin's Bib Gourmand list.
If you do more care with the people surrounded you, you will get more successful. You got to know that sharing and caring is the most important thing in your life.
For anyone who has ever fallen on tough times, Chen's story is a reminder that there's hope and redemption for those in search of a fresh start. BJ King, NTD News, Los Angeles.
And now we turn our attention to a remarkable display of talent on the basketball court. NTD's Carlos Reyes is here to break down a standout performance that took place at the Wells Fargo Center, where Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers etched his name in the NBA record books.
The Wells Fargo Center witnessed history as Joel Embiid delivered a jaw-dropping performance, scoring a staggering 70 points to lead the Philadelphia 76ers to an 133-123 victory over the San Antonio Spurs. Embiid's remarkable feat not only secured the win for the Sixers, but also etched his name in the record books, putting him in the same conversation as the legendary Wilt Chamberlain. Breaking Chamberlain's franchise record of 68 points, Embiid became only the 9th player in NBA history to reach the 70-point mark in a single game. Speaking after the game, a humble but elated Embiid acknowledged the significance of being compared to a basketball icon like Wilt Chamberlain. Obviously, Wilt accomplished everything in the history of this league and basketball in general, said Embiid. So to be in the same conversation, that's pretty cool. Embiid's stat line was nothing short of historic. 70 points, 18 rebounds, and 5 assists, a combination never seen before in NBA history. ESPN Stats and Information confirmed that Embiid's performance was a league first. "It was just a great night," said Embiid. "I had it going. A lot of teammates are extremely unselfish and they just kept giving me the ball and I just finished it." And finished it he did with an impressive 24 for 41 from the field and 21 for 23 from the foul line. The climax of the night came when Embiid went coast to coast for a layup over multiple defenders with 1:41 remaining, reaching the historic 70-point mark. Even Sixers head coach Nick Nurse couldn't help but marvel at Embiid's performance. "The time that it kind of hit me, I thought, was the start of the third," Nurse said. "I was like, geez, that's a lot with a whole half to go." Despite the Sixers holding a comfortable lead in the third quarter, Embiid's pursuit of history was uncertain. However, the San Antonio Spurs, led by rookie phenom Victor Wembanyama's 33 points and 7 rebounds, kept the game competitive. Embiid's teammates embraced the moment, with guard Tyrese Maxey expressing the importance of appreciating Embiid's greatness. "What he's doing right now is special," Maxey said. "He's not just doing it off layups, he's doing it off every single thing." The crowd at Wells Fargo Center was electrified, urging Embiid to shoot at every opportunity. The atmosphere reached a crescendo when he tied Chamberlain's record with 1:57 remaining and then surpassed it with a coast-to-coast layup, eventually being subbed out the game. Joel Embiid's incredible offensive performances this season have positioned him as a front-runner for the NBA's most valuable player. With 1,156 points in 1,096 minutes through 32 games, Embiid is on pace for a historic scoring season, paralleled only by Wilt Chamberlain in the annals of NBA history. On this same night, another NBA star, Karl Anthony Towns of the Minnesota Timberwolves, scored a franchise record 62 points in a loss to the Charlotte Hornets. Embiid and Towns became the first pair of NBA players since 1978 to each score at least 60 points on the same day. Carlos Reyes, NTD News.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We would like you to join us again on NTD Tonight every weekday at 9 p.m. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.